I'm doing a giveaway. Stick around to the end of the video to find out how you can enter to win. What is up, everybody? I'm NoLuxGiven, and today we are going to be taking a look at a really powerful Wonder Waddle game that also has some really interesting decisions at the very start of the game. And Wonder Waddle is a very front-loaded hero. There are a bunch of decisions that you make during that early portion of the game, and this one has a very interesting shop here. Cinderella plus forbidden fruit and no animals. And because it has no animals, normally I would just lock onto forbidden fruit in that opening shop, but instead I am just going to use the forbidden fruit to allow me to roll, and then I'm going to roll into this shop with a blind mouse. And it's important to note that this shop also has a forbidden fruit, but it also has another animal. And if this shop just had the forbidden fruit, I probably would not have locked onto it. But forbidden fruit plus an animal, I am willing to work with. The reason that I say that, though, is because now I've picked up a blind mouse, and if the shop was just Baby Dragon, Humpty Dumpty, forbidden fruit, I would much rather spend my next turn just seeing a brand new shop of 3 than paying a gold to roll and continue to look for more blind mice. Because how the math works out, it's just super good to look for blind mice in this early game. And I'm going to continue to look for blind mice, and I'm even going to continue to look for blind mice in this early portion of the game, and I eventually do find one, and that's going to start us off with a tier 4 treasure. And I think that a lot of players wouldn't be as willing to roll on 2.2, but I've actually found that it can be a really great strategy with Wonder Waddle in this early portion of the game. We're going to wind up picking up a Gloves of Thieving. I could have locked onto Wizard's Familiar plus the Genie's Wish, but I'm really not worried about it, and I saw that I was playing up against a Pied Piper, so I knew that I would probably be stealing an animal from my round 1 opponent. And I did just not want to lock onto that first shop because I want to start churning through some 3-cost animals like Prized Pig, Stag, and Trojan Donkey. And we find the Prized Pig here, but we also find Brave Princess, so I kind of have to try that avenue out as well. And then I'm also just going to pick up a Mad Mim to complement the rest of my board. I thought that that was stronger for this turn than the chicken. We could have done something like sold the Polywoggle and picked up the Prized Pig this turn, but ultimately I am pretty happy with how this turned out. My opponent winds up targeting my Humpty Dumpty on this turn, but we are going to get double slays with the Brave Princess, so that's pretty sweet. We'll wind up picking up a Baby Dragon from the Gloves of Thieving, and then we are going to wind up picking up a pair of Golden Chickens. And Dragon's Nest, really interesting with Gloves of Thieving because it works well with Lightning Dragon, and then we could potentially move into that type of comp. However, I think that just picking up the, and then we also had the Baby Dragon that would be given +5/+5 too. But I think just picking up the Secret Stash is good enough. It's going to allow us to float 3 gold into next turn. Then we can sell off the Baby Dragon. Maybe we lose this combat. If we win, we get the Prized Pig gold. If we lose, we get the Secret Stash gold. And ultimately, I think that we are doing some good stuff here. There's some good ideas floating around. Unfortunately, Brave Princess is not going to slay this turn, which is a little bit of a bummer. We lose our Prized Pig, but we cash in on the Secret Stash. So we are going to have some extra gold this turn nonetheless. We also did steal an animal from my opponent, so that is always nice. And I will mention here that I play Wonder Waddle a little bit differently right now. First off, I mean, Bounty Board is good. The cookbook was also good there, but in the past I would have just skipped that treasure because it was not a tier 3 treasure, and at this stage of the game, kind of just hunting for Hat Ball. Sometimes. I don't always do that, but there's 2 things that kind of made me pivot there. Firstly is that the existence of Skip's puzzle rune, I think, just totally changes how you have to play Wonder Waddle anymore. It's really important to just respect the fact that you could find the puzzle rune at any point, and that you want to be prepared for when you do to get that big XP bonus. The other thing is Gloves of Thieving is kind of a good treasure to go along with potential slay comps, and for that reason Bounty Board seemed like it could be cool, so I wound up picking that up. Unfortunately I take 8 damage and lose a Wish Upon a Star combat to that Geppetto, so that part's really annoying, but this turn we get to really pop off. I'm going to pick up the Stag first in case we find Treasure Map. And we don't, but we find Merlin's hat. So I am going to potentially look for Crystal Ball. We've got the locked chest unlocking in 2 turns, and then we also have the Brave Princess, which could also give us a tier 3 treasure. Both of those could help us find Crystal Ball, and that could be really powerful. We're also going to put in the Polywoggle on this combat, and that is going to give us the, or potentially give us an upgraded tier 5 unit on 4.0. I'm going to pick up the Sporko to support the Polywoggle. Then Sporko is also a ranged unit getting pumped up by the Stag, so all of this seems pretty good. I do debate moving Brave Princess into slot 1, so that way we can try to get the Brave Princess slay, and unfortunately the Polywoggle is just short, so that is really a bummer. Brave Princess is going to get her slay here though, so that is a nice what do you call it, consolation prize, and consolation prize is maybe not the right word when it's Crystal Ball that we get to pick up. So super happy about that one. We'll pick up the Crystal Ball. This has been a crazy game, kind of all over the place, and there's no real reason to even play a prized pig or buy the prized pig at this point, so I'm not really going to worry about it. I'm going to True Love's Kiss the and then I do think I wind up picking up the prized pig here, actually, eventually, even though I'm just going to wind up replacing the locked chest with it and not really doing too much. Okay, no, I don't. Okay, great. Yeah, definitely a little bit awkward. I'm going to pick up Golden Chicken. That's going to give us another look at tier 2 treasures. If we had found one with the word spell on it, we would have considered it over the locked chest, but inside of that chest, we are really just hoping for treasure map at this point in the game. And then I am going to sell off my bench and pick up another Friendly Spirit because we are wishing upon a star ourselves. So I want to just play the strongest board. I do some reordering in the last moments there, which does mean I'm playing a slightly suboptimal lineup, but it works out because the Friendly Spirits find themselves onto that Spellweaver. That is going to be enough to allow us to win, so we get the bonus XP here. Didn't need the Skips Puzzle Rune. We are going to get a tier 3 treasure though, and Telltale Quiver, when we've got a backline full of ranged units, seems fine enough. And the reason that XP is good, now we can find Aeon, which is really good, and now we can also potentially slay with this Polywoggle and get an upgraded tier 6 unit. I don't really care about that too much. I'll try to get it. I'll throw a magic research on it, but I'm not going to stress about it. There's only so few things that even matter on this sleigh, and locking onto here the Blind Mouse, because if we can complete another Blind Mouse treasure, then we could potentially find Forking Rod, and that's all we're looking for. But Polywoggle is actually going to slay here. The only things I think I really care about are like Princess P and Scion of the Storm, of course, but for the most part, I'm not expecting that to have a huge impact on the game, except we get Scion of the Storm. So, okay, yeah, that's pretty good. That winds up being pretty good for us. I will definitely take a Scion in this case, going to the end our Stag and pick up that Blind Mouse, and then I'm also going to pick up some Sporkos. We can start to grow those as well. One thing that's kind of cool is when you have split Sporkos, when you just have a pair of unupgraded Sporkos, you're giving them +2/+0 from each spell that you cast when you inevitably combine them, if that makes sense. So each Sporko is getting +1 attack from each spell cast from the Aeon, so when we combine them, it's kind of like we made a Spellweaver, because that combined unit is going to have +2 attack from each spell that we cast. So it is worth picking up another Sporko here. We are actually level 6 at this point, and feeling pretty good. We could potentially find a Baba Yaga or something, or just toss the hat at some point, but first things first, we probably want to toss this Quiver. because that's not doing too much. I mean, it's fine. It's fine. It's just not like insane for us or anything. We are going to beat up on this Pied Piper, but I'm just saying like we could find like a Hercules or something next. I guess that also would have been a reasonable thing to polywoggle into. Baba Yaga just means that we can potentially drop the hat, but we will wind up dropping the quiver first. And then I'm going to feed Scion of the Storm into this Croc. The main consideration behind that is the fact that we could potentially find enough Crocs down the line that it gives us a tier 6 treasure. One other thing that I want to point out here is when you are going to triple up the Sporko, you're going to want to cast spells before you make that triple, because now Sporko is only getting +1 attack from each spell that we cast, so certainly not as powerful. Also locking on to Gigantify here, and it'll be free now that we got this Slay with Aeon. But I think the Sporko is fine enough. Maybe we'll wind up replacing it down the line. We still have this Friendly Spirit that we could cut from the comp, and even if we find another Wizard's Familiar, that will just combine because we're Wonder Waddle, so we definitely have some more space in this comp to do some stuff with. I am going to wind up picking up the Hercules here. That could definitely get us a good treasure to replace this quiver. And then I find another Croc, and at only 2, I think that it is worth casting this Croc. It's not super powerful, but hey, it could help us build into a tier 6 treasure. So next turn, I'm going to pick up Monster Book, and then I'm going to Croc the Monster Book. That'll make an upgraded Croc and give us a tier 6 treasure. Then we're also building towards a tier 6 treasure with Hercules. So we are really in the position to do some powerful stuff in this game, which is very exciting. We had a really strong opener with the Blind Mouse, and then somewhat reasonably quickly finding the Crystal Ball and the Merlin's Hat, as well as all of that other stuff while remaining strong, and that is just going to give us the opportunity to do some very silly and powerful things in the end game here. My opponent with a ranged unit is looking reasonably strong, but we are just way too much stronger than them. So we'll pick up the Monster Book, we'll triple that here, and fortunately, we don't find any great treasures, but I think even just something like Ivory Owl, it's fine. We take it. It's some stats. This game looks like it's probably going to be over relatively soon, so I'm fine to just pick up that treasure. I'll pick up another Golden Chicken as we continue to roll here, and then I'm going to go ahead and make another Hercules. I didn't love the Ivory Owls, so I'm thinking, okay, another Hercules. Hercules is buffed up right now, which is also great because it means it can activate potentially in 1 combat, but in 3 hits once we buff it up with some supports. Our good Hercules will also activate in 2 hits right now. 35 times 2 is 70, so we're really close to potentially getting 2 tier 6 treasures this turn. We could replace the hat, we could replace the Ivory Owl for something like Mimic Chest and Ninth Book of Merlin. There's a lot of really good options. Unfortunately, the Hercules aren't going to connect this turn, and this combat's looking close, but then you remember that we have an absolutely massive Scion inside of this Croc, so we're still doing okay, and not super worried here. We're going to finish off my opponent with that Monster Book to cap things out. Interestingly, and this is something definitely worth noting, if we Evil Twin Hercules here, all 3 of our Hercules will combine into 1, which doesn't have the quest, I think, and we'll get 1 tier 6 treasure. For me, that's not worth it. We're so close to completing both of these treasures on Hercules that I really don't want to mess around with that. Find another Croc spell. I'm going to throw my Croc inside of the Croc, and from here, I think I'm debating just picking up Scion of the Storm, so that way we have something else to throw into another Croc. We could also dream out of this hero, but we still have some things that we could complete, like we could find another Wizard's Familiar, and that would be pretty nice. We can also pick up a Golden Chicken, which is just going to be fine for us right now. I wind up skipping on that treasure. Potentially could have picked it up to try to grab a tier 7 treasure off one of these 2 Hercules. The attack into Lightning Dragon, or not Lightning Dragon, Doom Breath is really good because that is going to give us a the Lightning Dragon then can't clear my backline, which is really good. And again, this combat is looking close, but Scion of the Storm is going to be able to easily clean stuff up from here, despite my opponent's large ranged backline. So that'll take care of Celestial Tiger, and now we get to take a look at a tier 6 treasure, and Ninth Book of Merlin is way too good to pass up. So we'll pick that up for the finals. I'll put back in another mage, and I think we can still try to activate Hercules this turn. I don't see a reason why not to. And we'll cast a few more spells here. Not even going to worry about Pigomorph because it is still so early in the turn. Then I'm going to transform Hercules. We'll see if we can find something good on that. Not going to be super lucky. Could pick up an Aeon. We could pick up another Baba Yaga. Not even really super sure what I'm looking for at this point. Just looking for a few more spells to cast. Get a little bit stronger for this turn. Next turn we'll potentially even have another tier 6 treasure. I'm going to sell off the Golden Chicken and buy another one. Just casting a few more spells and locking on to Scion of the Storm. Scion of the Storm really good with the Ninth Book of Merlin, and then it also gives us like a Croc target or something like that in the future, so that's kind of the idea. Aeon is going to slay, Hercules is going to complete his treasure, and then we are going to take out the Bear Stain with Shrivel. This could be a close one. My opponent with a huge Spellweaver, and then once again I feel like kind of a broken record. We've got so much stuff inside that Croc that it's not really going to matter. We hit my opponent for 14, down to 6, and then we get the option to pick up Pandora's Box, but it's like the final turn of the game, and I'm probably going to win this combat, so I don't go for it. I really wanted to. I wound up not even going for the Scion of the Storm either. I just felt like it wasn't worth it here. I think our gold is better spent just rolling for Crocs and trying to find a tier 6 treasure that way. Legitimately, I think that that's just a better option, and it's an option we're going to find. We find 2 more Croc spells. That's going to let us look at another tier 6 treasure. Still not interested in any of this stuff. I'm going to cast a Knighthood on Aeon on the final turn of the game. That's not going to matter either. I'm also going to frontline an Echo Wood just so that way I can backline this Croc. And I wind up not spending a bunch of gold on this final turn. I would have loved to pick up the Scion and the Dream to cap things off. Oh well, I didn't get there. I don't think it matters. We're casting so many spells. We also have this Croc Duckin that is just filled with a bunch of really powerful units here, and ultimately, yeah, just going to be super strong for us. We even now get the Friendly Spirit landing in the double supported slot, so that's really nice for us, and then all of our units are massive, and they're scamming, and that is a pretty easy win. Don't really have too many takeaways from this game. I definitely got very lucky in more ways than one, but there were definitely some interesting decisions to think about on the early turns of the game. And Wonder Waddle, in my eyes, is the most powerful hero in Storybook Brawl. Always has been, maybe not always will be, but the interesting thing about Wonder Waddle, from my perspective, because he doesn't always do that well as far as stats. And that's a little bit of a silly thing to say for the top performing hero. Like, it's always in the top 4 pretty consistently. But it's never taking that number 1 slot. And from my perspective, that's because people play a little bit looser on Wonder Waddle. They're willing to do some of those sillier plays, like rolling for mouse on 2.2. Obviously, when you hit, it makes the hero extremely powerful. Definitely interesting. I'm not sure where I land on it. I think a lot of players are really getting fed up with both the Crystal Ball and Wonder Waddle's ability to activate it so early on in the game. I've always thought Wonder Waddle was too powerful. If there is a candidate to potentially only give 30 or 35 starting health to, I think Wonder Waddle would definitely be it, just so that way you can take a little bit fewer risks with the hero, but it still is going to be able to do some just incredible things, to the point where this game was never really even close at any point of it. Yeah, we were just very powerful the whole time. The Geppetto did get the Wish Upon a Star against us, but then we were able to just set up and capitalize on so many more powerful things. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments about Wonder Waddle. Do you think this guy's too powerful? Do you think Wonder Waddle needs a nerf? And if you don't already, I've got a game coming in, we'll say a few days, maybe 3-4 days, that is a Wonder Waddle game that I just have no words for. It is, I think, the most powerful game of Storybook Brawl that I have ever played. I just demolished the entire lobby, and I'm sure nobody else had fun besides me. But that is going to be it for me today. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'm No Lux Given. Peace. This week's giveaway word is royal. Each week I use a new code word. That's just to distinguish who's commenting for which week. And the reason I have you guys say a code word, that way I can tell who is interested in the dust and who's just commenting to say hi or that they enjoyed the video, stuff like that. You can definitely do both. Just make sure you include this week's code word. You can also enter as many times as you want per week, once per video. You can go back, leave comments on old videos, just make sure they include this week's word, but there's no limit to how many times you can enter, other than, I guess, the amount of videos that I have. And I've been putting out a bunch of Storybook Brawl videos since last October, so yeah, there are a bunch of opportunities to enter to win. You can go through the backlog and watch some of those, but it's been really fun to receive the comments from you guys, get that level of interaction. You can also come join me on my Discord, which I'm trying to grow right now, just so that I have, one, feedback on my titles and thumbnails and things like that, but I also have some fun ideas for special game modes that I could make work with lobbies of players in the future. So feel free to check that out as well. There is a link to that in the video description. And help me climb on my way to 1,000 subscribers. I'm getting there slowly but surely, and thank you guys all very much for your support.